and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Okay, so speaking of people that really want to have their mistress get an abortion, Congress has suddenly realized that they really need this infrastructure bill to happen so they can get reelected. We got a video for you, and I mean, they're like, I feel like I've been saying this on the show for a while. They need something. Obama had to have Obamacare to validate his presidency, even though it was a giveaway to the insurance companies.
It was weak validation, but yeah.
As someone wrote earlier, and it kind of made me shudder, Biden hasn't even been in office for a year.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't that hurt? Doesn't that just hurt? Oh, my God. Kamala's still waiting. Like, every day she's like, I'm ready to step in. Yeah, so we have this video on Congress, and it's what I said. It's like they need this infrastructure bill to work to not get decimated in the midterms. Let's just hear what they have to say.
The White House approach to this is sort of that once they believe that once Congress, and they do think they will do this, gets those big agenda items through, the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan, this larger, maybe hovering around a $2 trillion social spending plan, once that gets passed and into the economy, that spending gets out into the country, that they think these troubles will start taking care of themselves, especially with what we see as the receding of the Delta variant, which is issue number one above all others.
Well, of course, there's a trickle-down effect to all of these problems to the statewide offices. And Terry McAuliffe, who is, again, running for governor in Virginia, talked about how this is affecting other states. So listen to him from Sunday.
We've got frustration with Washington. You know, why haven't we passed this infrastructure bill? It passed the U.S. Senate with 69 votes 2 months ago. I have been very straight on television. We're tired of the chitty chat up in Washington. Get in a room and get this figured out.
And by the way, he's a Democrat, David.
Yeah,
he sure is. You know, when Ryan was...
I just love how that he gave, like, he was just, like, being practical, like, stop talking and wasting our time and go in a room and talk about it. And they're like, that guy's a Democrat. Don't think he's a Republican making that point. So no Democrats always stick together.
He's a Democrat, by the way.
you can trust him. So we're CNN, reaction sort of news.
I didn't even catch that. I love it.
Oh, my God.
He's talking to you guys and saying there's no definitive timeline on this stuff now, and this is more of a long-term thing. As he was saying that, I was like envisioning Terry McAuliffe's head exploding, because there is a short timeline for Terry McAuliffe. In Virginia, where he's running for his old job to be governor again, people are voting right now. I mean, we will tally the votes 3 weeks from today. That's Election Day. But the voting is happening right now, and that's why you see McAuliffe sort of pleading with Washington Democrats to sort of please get something done, especially that infrastructure bill you have sitting on your desks from the Senate, which was passed in a bipartisan fashion, so that I can turn around and sell what you're doing to people who are going to vote right now. So the idea that the timeline gets extended, that hurts somebody like Terry McAuliffe or potentially Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, who's running for re-election, those folks that are on the ballot as we speak.
Yeah, he can't wait for Halloween or the end of the year for this to get done. David.
Okay, so a couple things just in terms of timeline. Congress is going on vacation at the end of the month anyway, so if it doesn't happen now, it's going to happen like next year if anything happens. It's like all the Congress people, and they're like, oh, we're going to pontificate about how we can possibly delay our own inadequacies and get both of these bills passed. And now everyone that's trying to get reelected is like, guys, I'm trying to get reelected here. Can you please pass this stuff and stop screwing around? I'd really like to get my old seat back. I'd really like to do this or that. Because what did I say? Democrats have done nothing at all since Biden got elected. So besides literally turning off giving people money, which is not the most popular thing in the world. And so they have like this one thing, and it's like, I'm going to say this, and in just this context, I mean this, and I hope that it even applies. Progressives in Congress and Senate, keep holding the line. You're winning. Don't cave in. You have them on the ropes. I hope that some amount of that is true to them and applies to them. Because right now, Democrats are like, I need to get elected. Can you do something about that? I really would like to get elected again. Please, can you pass a bill? I really need this because I got to tell people I've done something for them. Yeah, but meanwhile, like Joe Manchin's like, I'm getting paid too much to care about this, and Christian Sinema's like, I'm having so much fun ignoring my constituents for a payout later.
They're so annoying. Your
Yeah.
constituency annoys me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, when I watched that clip, there were just a few things that kind of came up for me. They're definitely pointing to the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
yeah,
my
yeah.
curiosity is like, who is that messaging to?
It both. It's saying everyone's saying we just need the infrastructure. They're right. I'm saying it too. And then progressives stop holding up the line. But again, that just means progressives, you're succeeding. If this is indeed not kabuki theater.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't sound like McAuliffe was like had too much of a fighting chance anyway.
Yeah.
Because the GOP is spanking him.
Yeah, well, again, it's like this goes all back to the hey, I'm like a Republican, but not as much. I don't do everything as well as them. Vote for me has just never worked.
And then my other thing about this whole thing, it's like he's up for governor. What what does that have to do with what they're doing at a federal level? Maybe I'm missing something.
It's literally brand association.
Okay.
That's
What I thought, but I didn't want to like.
This is I like Coca-Cola, and that guy does too.
Yeah, because I was like, what is a gubernatorial?
I'm sorry, this is the Democrats. I like Pepsi Cola, and that guy does too.
Is that a thing?
Oh no, that's I've been saying on the show. It's like the Democrat and Republican parties are like Coca-Cola and Pepsi Cola trying to get all the diabetics to drink their drink.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. So I was just I mean, obviously you can see I was a little confused by this story, and so I looked up polling numbers, which I was trying to relook up. I should have put them in my notes because I can't remember shit.
It
But
was so funny. We did a story, I think it was yesterday, where like the news is doing a story basically on itself. They're like, oh my God, like 10% of Americans don't even know a bill's happening, and like 80% don't know what's in the bill. And we were just like, yeah, because you keep talking about the dollar amount and not like, they're not talking at all what's in the bill because you know why? It's really goddamn popular stuff. So they're trying not to talk about what's in the bill by making it look unappetizing by just talking about the cost of it. And again, when the news likes something and it's like a 10-year plan thing, they're always like, oh, don't worry, just like, it's $300 million a year. It's not a $3 billion bill over 10 years. But when anytime they don't like something, it's exactly how they talk about it. Oh, it's $3.5 trillion. Oh my God, $3.5 trillion. How are we going to pay for it? Versus $350 billion a year.
$350 billion a year.
It's like an investment.
Which, when you know how much the military is receiving on an annual
That's
basis.
how much they lose in their couch.
Right. No, 100%. Absolutely. So, I think what this news story really pointed out to me is this whole, how the duopoly basically creates like kind of incongruent idiocy. I don't know. Like, am I being mean in saying this? That his gubernatorial race has nothing to do with what they're doing on a federal level.
This goes to what I was talking about yesterday. That people miss the bigger picture. The small picture is actually the infighting in the two parties. The big picture is the American empire is in free fall and is falling, and China is taking over, and the EU is not doing exactly what we say the same amount. That's the actual big picture of a falling empire that a falling empire deals with. The smaller picture is the Republicans are like, how do we give all the wealth of the country as fast as possible to corporations? And then Democrats are like, how do we do that but slightly slower and pretending that we care?
And pretending that we care about people.
And so everything that's fighting between the two parties, they're fighting for the same reason independent media channels are fighting on YouTube when YouTube cuts away their budget by 90%. They're just fighting over scraps. And if you're and it's obviously there's more than there's ever been before, but when your constituents, which are corporations, all have to make 3% more every 90 days, they're running out of space to move. They can't sell. They've already Coca-Cola sells to the entire world already. What do they have
also
to do?
the biggest plastic producer at
Yeah.
BT Dubs.
And so it's like that's the stuff that they're dealing with.
Degrowth.
America's losing its power to empire of the world, so it doesn't have as much strength. And what we're watching is the play out of that in these parties.
Yep. Yeah, and then you have silly conversations about how people not really all that related to what you do for your job because. I mean, I should have looked more into it, but I ran out of time today because clearly McAuliffe has been a failure at doing his job because he can't get reelected. So he depends on people unrelated to his job to get him his job back.
Yes, that's what the Democratic Party is, effectively, and the Republican. I mean, they're basically the same party. They just have slightly different takes on how to be terrible. It's like the other thing that why they're so worried is they all know what they've done to the American people. They all know how much millions and billions, trillions, really, of dollars. Again, I always bring up that I always love this chart. It just boggles a lot of people's minds. There's 3 groups of theft, of stealing from people in America. The smallest group is all private citizen thefts on each other, all burglaries, thefts, everything.
That's incredible.
That's the smallest group. The smallest contingent is citizen to citizen. The second smallest is police stealing from American citizens. The only thing, and those are the police stealing is like 50% bigger. 10 times bigger than that original category, corporate wage theft.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's like they're sitting there freaking out because they're like, I've screwed over thousands of people. Can't let this turn against me.